Hey Keith, it's Miss M here at school today, a different view. I am going to read you another story. Yesterday I sent you a story called Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. He's a really popular author. And today I'm going to read you another pretty popular book. It was a number one selling book at one point in time. It is Thursday afternoon. It is a beautiful day outside. My friends and I here at school, we went outside for a little while earlier, and we could have stayed out there all day. It's so beautiful. Not too hot, not too cold. Just a perfect day. So we are working on getting you some more stories, and hopefully you are able to start watching these on your TV, and hopefully you are enjoying yourself. As always, if there's anything you want me to read about or anything you want me to do differently, you just let me know and we will make those changes. I know we're going to read a few more fun picture books, and then Miss Marjo and I are going to sit down and talk about what chapter books you guys have read in the past, you and her, and then come up with maybe another option for a chapter book. So let's go ahead and read a quick story. It's called The Smart Cookie. And so this cookie went to school and did some fun things. So let's see what all this cookie did when she went to school. Now, let's remember that cookies don't really go to school. It's just a funny story, and it's actually a really good story. And maybe at the end of the story, you can call yourself a smart cookie. A lot of people say that saying just to be silly about when you know something or you're able to answer certain questions. So this is The Smart Cookie. And again, it is by a number one best-selling team. They made several stories, and The Smart Cookie was one of their most popular. Greetings, I'm a cookie. I live in a bakery and on a street corner near a river. So a bakery is somewhere that you go to get cookies and homemade breads and brownies and sometimes ice cream and cupcakes and birthday cakes and all that stuff. So this smart cookie lives in a bakery where all the other sweets live as well. And she said, "Come on in. Welcome to our little community. It's a warm and supportive place to spend some time." Pretty fantastic, eh? So if you look right there, we've got a cupcake and a piece of cherry pie doing some science. We've got a croissant, which is like a breakfast pastry, doing some geography. We've got like I was telling you, some bakeries have homemade bread, is doing some art. Then over here you got macarons. That's a certain type of cookie. Looks like they're dancing or something. You got cupcakes and cookies and pretzels and donuts and breakfast pastries. And there's that birthday cake I was telling you about. And of course you have the smart cookie. And there's a cinnamon roll and a muffin doing something on the board. Could you imagine if you walked into a bakery and you saw all those pastries doing science and measuring and dancing and talking? That'd be crazy. These days, life is sweet. You get what they did there? Life is sweet. Everything in a bakery is sweet. But my journey wasn't always a cakewalk, which means it wasn't always easy, but she's using cakewalk because she's using the word cake. When I was younger, I couldn't have imagined fitting in here. For a long time, I didn't feel comfortable speaking up or sharing my ideas. I didn't feel like a smart cookie. So for a long time, she just sat outside the window thinking she wouldn't fit in. I wanted to be a cookie who knew all the answers, a cookie who felt confident in a group, a cookie who said, aha, when solving a puzzle. Like this. Aha. So for a long time, she didn't feel like a smart cookie. Looking back, I had some trouble in my early days. I went to school in a gingerbread house. Our teacher, Miss Biscotti, which is also a type of pastry, was kind and patient. When I arrived each morning, she waved and smiled. So there she is going to her school at a gingerbread house. We like to build those during Christmas time, and her teacher, Miss Biscotti. And that's what a biscotti looks like right there. But I didn't get the best grades, and I never raised my hand because I couldn't think of the answers as fast as the others. And I was always the last to finish the tests. So there she is, getting bad grades. There she is, not knowing all the answers. And there she is, always being the last one to finish her tests. It wasn't because I didn't care, and it wasn't because I didn't try. Sometimes I'd get distracted and mess up. Even though I knew the material, those were the most frustrating moments. Once I misspelled the word dough. That was rough. Another time I added when I meant to subtract. So she's talking about all these mistakes she made. All these distractions. Occasionally, we'd have a lesson where I had absolutely no idea what was happening. I just couldn't keep up. I imagined that my desk was a raft and that I was completely lost at sea because that's what I felt like. So she, one day, didn't understand what was going on, so she started pretending that she was at sea because she felt like she was lost at sea because she didn't understand. At night, I slept in a cookie jar. I had about 6 dozen roommates. Move! You move! No, you move! No, you move! No, you move! Look at all those cookies in that jar. What kind of cookie do you like? I'd always stay awake and stare out the window. And it went this way, day after day after day. But then something happened, and that changed everything. So there she was, unable to sleep, crammed in the cookie jar. And something happened. Something changed. It all started with a homework assignment. Miss Biscotti requested our attention one afternoon. Tonight, class, I would like you to create something completely original, she announced. It can be anything you want. Please bring it to class tomorrow. That was it. They were off. No further instructions. Miss Biscotti winked at me as I gathered my belongings. So her teacher, Miss Biscotti, said, I want you to go home and I want you to create anything. It doesn't matter. Anything. That's pretty free creativity. I love that. I felt like I had 1,000,000 butterflies in my stomach. Create anything? Something original? Due tomorrow? So now she's like, oh no. It seems so easy, but yet it seems so hard. When I got home, I immediately went to work. At first, I tried a cooking project. Those results were half-baked. Next, I tried to hammer something. It splintered immediately. Then I tried making a sculpture. It was a complete bust. I was about to fail yet another assignment. I was stuck. So she tried to bake. That was a bust. She tried to build a birdhouse. It broke. She tried to do a sculpture. It also broke. I stared out the window and watched the rain hit the river. There was something mesmerizing about the water, how it moved in such a chaotic way, swirling around and around, yet ultimately figuring out exactly where it needed to be. Suddenly, I had an idea. I decided to write something original. Aha! A poem. So she talks about the rain and how it always knows where to go. And now she's thought, I'm going to write a poem. I came up with a title based on how I'd been feeling. My crummy days. Do you know how, like, if you crumble a cookie or if you eat a cookie and there's crumbs? So she said my crummy day, but crummy can also mean my bad day, my stinky, no good day. After that, the rest of it seemed to fall into place. I wrote and I lost track of time. And an hour went by in a flash. So she was thinking, my crummy day. She started writing. Aha, I said when I finished. I couldn't sleep that night, but it wasn't because I was worried. It was because I was excited. I felt like I had really accomplished something. I felt smart. So tonight she wasn't sleeping because she was crammed in a cookie jar. She finally felt like a smart cookie. The following day, Miss Biscotti asked for volunteers to share what we'd created. One kid showed off his original frosting art. Another kid revealed her sprinkle distribution machine. So here's some things that her friends came up with. That looks like a donut that learned how to put frosting on. And there's a cupcake learning how to put sprinkles on. It was neat seeing how everyone was good at such different things. And there's a croissant, which is a breakfast piece of bread that people eat for breakfast. Doing some science work. Finally, Miss Biscotti turned to me. Would you like to share something? She asked. I gulped. I thought I'd probably crumble under pressure. So there she is. The teacher asked, would you like to share something? She said, I don't know. She looks very nervous. But I made my way to the front of the classroom. I noticed my hands were shaking. My mouth was dry. All these things are what happens when you're really nervous. You start shaking and your mouth gets dry. And she walked up there and she said, this poem is called My Crummy Days, I said, my voice cracking, and then I read it out loud. As I spoke, I noticed some of the kids nodding at certain lines. Other kids laughed at parts that were supposed to be funny. As I built toward the finale, I felt myself becoming more confident and animated. So at first she was really, really, really nervous. And then some kids were like, yeah, that's true. And some kids even laughed when it was funny. So that made her become more confident. And in the end, everybody clapped and cheered. Woohoo! I promise you this, I'll never forget that. Miss Biscotti was beaming. No one but you could have written that poem, she said. It was completely original. So everyone cheered for her poem. Even the teacher said, that was unique to you. Aha! I had done it. I created something and shared it with the world. Well, my world, at least. There she is, very proud of herself. It's always good to be proud of yourself sometimes, but not too proud. The rest of the day was a blur. By recess, I was already planning my next poem. I would call it My Sweet Morning. Aha! I thought when I came up with that title. Later that afternoon, Miss Biscotti handed me a note. It said that I should keep on writing no matter what. That meant so much to me. So there she is coming up with her next poem, and her teacher's really encouraging her to keep on writing. School was a bit different after that. I was never scared to raise my hand or ask a question or share my work. Sure, some things still didn't come as easily for me as others. But now I know that you can be smart in many different ways. You don't have to have the answers to every question or suddenly be great at everything. All at once, you just need a chance to try all kinds of things to find out who you are and what you like to do. So she has now gotten the confidence to raise her hand, to share her work, to try things even though they might not be easy for her. All these things, skateboarding and videoing and working out and helping others and playing music, all these things she's starting to try because she now has confidence. As for me, I learned that I can write and I can think up great ideas. And I've found plenty of others too. Plenty of other things I'm good at too. I no longer feel lost at sea. I'm more like floating down the river, and that's the best part. There's always more to learn because we're all smart cookies. That was a cute story. So she learned that we all have something we're good at. There's all the pastries cheering on, the bread and the cake and the pretzels and the cookies and the croissant and the donuts and the cupcakes and the muffins and the pie and the cinnamon roll. All the pastries, and there she is, the smart cookie. And we learned in this story that we may not be good at everything, but we have to try, and eventually we will find something we're really good at. But it's also okay to be wrong. It's also okay to find things you're not good at, but we must try, and we must keep going, and also, we learned at the end that although we may be very nervous, when we finally find that one good thing we're good at or those few good things we're good at, it makes us a lot more confident, and confidence is great. So, I hope you enjoyed the smart cookie. I'm going to read one more story so that you can listen for just a little bit longer, and it's going to be a quick one. So, I will be right back with that one. All right, Keith, I am back. I know it wasn't a big break for you, but it's been about an hour since I read the other book for me, but thankfully technology allows me to take 2 videos and merge them into one long video. So that was a fun story about the smart cookie that learned how to be confident and learn to keep trying things until find something that they are good at. So the next story is just a short, silly story to end today's reading. Miss Marjo thought you would really like this one, and it is called David Gets in Trouble. You ever been in trouble? I know quite often when we are children and little and still learning things, we often do get in trouble. Because we just want to explore, we want to do things and a little differently, and unfortunately sometimes that does get us in trouble. I know a lot of times, especially when we're in school, we're still learning, but there are rules that we have to follow. So let's see what David is going to do to get in trouble. And again, this is one of those series. There's a David series. And there's all kind of different stories. This is one of the more popular one, and then there's another one that says David Says No. Okay, so let's look at David Gets in Trouble. Uh-oh, this picture's already a bad start. That looks like his mom or maybe his teacher or somebody, and he's standing there like, uh-oh, what did I do? When David gets in trouble, he always says, "No, it's not my fault." And that's very common. I have a friend in here with me, and she thinks the story's funny too. A lot of kids say that. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. I didn't mean to. So he's skateboarding in the house. I don't think we're supposed to ride our skateboards in the house, but he's doing it anyways. And look what happens. He knocked over the table. And he said, I didn't mean to. Now he's outside playing baseball. And uh-oh, crash. It went through the window, knocked over the plant, broke the glass. And he said, it was on accident. Now he's sitting at the table. Looks like he's eating breakfast. He's got eggs and some orange juice. And he said, do I have to? Now he's walking to school. And you got his friends. Sorry. Now you've got his friends in the background laughing. Because look what David forgot to put on. He forgot to put on his pants. Yikes. He said, oops, I forgot. And in the background you see his mom chasing after him with his pants. Yikes. Then he gets to school. There's some friends giggling. There's a dog in the window with a piece of paper. Wonder what that piece of paper is. Then he's got a friend beside him, and then he says, but my dog ate my homework. Now they're taking a class picture. All his friends are smiling, looking happy, best behavior. Now look at David. Look at David. He looks back crazy. He looks about crazy. He said, I couldn't help it. Then, look at that dog. Dog and his dog treats, but the dog's not eating the dog treats. Crazy David is. And he said, I was hungry. Would you eat a dog treat if you got hungry, Keith? I most certainly wouldn't. Then, there's that poor old kitty cat screaming, got her claws out, and David's pulling her tail. And supposedly, he says, but she likes it. I doubt that. Now he's carrying all this stuff, some chips, some donuts, a straw, a dinosaur. And he also had a cup of juice. And he said, it slipped. Then, you know, sometimes when we accidentally say bad words and somebody says, I'm going to wash your mouth out with soap. David goes in there and puts soap in his mouth. Wonder if he said a bad word. Uh-oh. But Dad says it. That's what he said. Dad says the bad word. Why can't I? Now they're sitting at the table and the flowers are blowing, the candles blowing, and David's mouth is wide open. Blech. Excuse me. Now there's a cake on the table. Looks like somebody might have got a bite out of it. Do you think it was the cat? Maybe the dog? I don't know. Let's look at David. David's got cake all over his mouth. So I'm going to say it was David. And he said, no, it wasn't me. Then he's laying in bed. And he's crying. He's worried. He's upset. He said, yes, it was me. There's his face. He's sad, and he said, I'm sorry. I love you, Mom. And he goes to sleep. David had quite the rough day. Spilling things. Sorry. Spilling things, breaking things, eating things when he wasn't supposed to, burping out loud, saying bad words, pulling the cat's tail, eating the dog treats, all these things David was having a pretty rough day. Almost like the smart cookie was having a rough day. But then at the end of the day, he finally admits that he did all of those things. He quit making those excuses. And he says, I'm sorry. So it's always okay to make mistakes. It's always okay to do silly, crazy things. But sometimes if we get a little carried away, we have to say, I'm sorry. I hope you enjoyed that one. That one's just a short, silly book that Miss Marjo thought you would like, and I really like it too. It makes me giggle every time I read it. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.